What is going on, party people in the house? Hold on one second. Let me retweet this real quick. Hold on a second. Let me retweet. At some point, I'm going to get like a 45-second intro so I can get a little bit more time. But hold on. Give me 1 second. Give 1 second. Let's use this gift. Oh, wait. That's pretty good. That's The Rock. All right, let's do that. All right, what is going on, everybody? Party people in the house. Welcome back to hopefully one of your favorite shows here on the channel. Welcome back to the Old Fashioned Sports Show. I am your host, your favorite unk, Anwar Richardson. Good to see you as you're piling in. Day after Valentine's Day. One of the first people that was in the chat was Sandman 23. I think it was Sandman 23. Where is it? Guillermo. It was Guillermo 23 that said, Anwar, you're the man. My girl loved the surprise. She received that work yesterday. She was so happy. The best part was that none of her female co-workers got any flowers or gifts. Listen, man. Unk is here for you, man. Guillermo 58, Unk is here for you. I kept encouraging everybody. I said, don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. I know that it's a manufactured holiday. I understand that you look at it, you're like, come on, man. What are you guys trying to do to us? Blah, blah, blah. I get it. And at the end of the day, still go ahead through it. Just go. It's just one day. There's a lot of manufactured holidays out there. Halloween's a manufactured holiday. Easter is a manufactured holiday, right? There's a lot of manufactured holidays that are out there. But if you do something nice for her, she's going to remember it. And Guillermo, you did something even better. You had to censor her job because now all of a sudden she was a star. She was the star, and she felt like she was the star. She is going to remember that forever. You're good. You are absolutely good. You are walking on water right now. Props to you. Props to all the fellas who went out there and did what they needed to do yesterday. Sandman 23 goes, HEB was stealing my money yesterday. Every basic dozen roses was priced at least $55. Stupid. Those same roses will be $25 today. Yes, we know. We understand. And at the end of the day, Sandman 23, I guarantee you, she didn't have that response. I guarantee you, Sandman 23, she didn't have that response. And she didn't say, you know what? I can't believe that you spent double the price on something to make me happy. I guarantee you, she was just happy. Fellas, you just got to make the sacrifice. Gotta make the sacrifice. I got to say this. I'm glad to anybody who did it. I guarantee you, if you did something yesterday for her, you guys are good. And interesting too. Yesterday on our Slack channel, and I'm about to. Hopefully, I don't make everybody at Orange Bloods mad. I'm probably going to make some people uncomfortable with what I'm about to say. It was about 9 o'clock or so last night. Slack is our messaging system that we use. It's our DMing system that we use. We're getting off of that. I think we're going into like a Microsoft 365, right? But nonetheless, it's like 9 o'clock last night. And Catch sends out a message saying to everybody, hey, hope you had everyone had a good Valentine's Day. And I said, and my response was essentially to the point, and I'm going to paraphrase it, but if you are messaging or if you're on your work channel on Valentine's night, you are doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. And then somebody else chimed in something, and I said, I sure hope there's a lot of other people here at Orange Bloods that are doing something better than being on this Slack channel. And you know what? People start chiming in. So it was easy to tell who wasn't planning on getting anything last night. It was easy to tell. And people started chiming in. Now, look, to Unk's defense, because you're going to be like, well, Unk, you was on there too. to Unc's defense, my girl lives out of town. We did our Valentine's Day thing over the weekend. I already made things, some more stuff was sent to her job. So I didn't have her sitting there in the bed next to me. So I'm looking at everybody who's responding on the OB channel, and I'm like, well, this person ain't getting none. It's 9 o'clock, 9:30. You still on the work channel talking. Like, this person ain't getting none. This person ain't getting none. This person clearly, I mean, it's 9:30 at night. Well, y'all still talking. Why are you here? But I tell you one thing. You know who didn't respond last night? Chad Hastings. There was one person that I saw. You talk about golf clap? There was one person who did not chime in at all last night, and I didn't know he existed until about 8:50 a.m. today. It is Chad the Man Hastings. You had a good one, too, didn't you, Chad? You had a good one.
Had a good Valentine's Day and did not need to let anybody know about it.
That's my man. Because he wasn't talking about work. He wasn't talking about the Golden State performance. He wasn't talking about, hey, did you see that shot by Steph Curry from the tunnel? Like, that was amazing. I didn't know Chad existed until about 15 minutes ago. I didn't even know he was going to be on the show. I was like, my man went back for seconds. Like, it was a good. So tell us about Valentine's Day, Chad. What the things that you can share with us, my man.
Yes. So, like I told you yesterday, you got to know who you're with for Valentine's Day. So I did go. I don't think I've ever done this. My wife and I have been together 20 years married, almost 25 years together. And I thought, well, since it's almost 25 years together, let me do almost 25 roses. So for the first time, I did 2 dozen roses. Ooh. I've always been a basic dozen roses guy. We'll change up colors. We'll change up style. Sometimes we'll go more spring, vibe than just straight up roses. Sometimes you go tulips or sometimes you do that. But I went with 2 dozen roses, which she enjoyed. And then last night, this is why I love my wife. I've told the story plenty of times of one of her birthdays. I said, wherever you want to go, where are we going? And her answer was Red Lobster. That's why I love her. So, because she knows who she is and she knows who I am. Well, last night I said, hey, she's working late. She didn't want to go out. I said, where do you want to go? I'll bring anything to the house. I can go to a steakhouse. We'll figure it out. Your favorite Mexican food, whatever. Eventually she just texted me, pick up Golden Chick.
Wow.
And I was like, pick up what? And I said, okay, regular order. So she and the daughter, they both have a regular order at Golden Chick. And you know how fast food is nowadays, Anwar. It's still pretty expensive.
You still did $10 a piece, $12 a piece.
Right. You're not getting out of there for like $15. So I went and rolled through the drive-through. By the way, drive-through of Golden Chick in beautiful Elgin, Texas. Woo, yes. Free and clear on Valentine's night. Just smoked right through that bad boy. Had it at the house ready for it. We watched a movie as a family, and it was fantastic.
What does she want from Golden Chick though? What was her order? Do you remember?
Oh, she's got she is a four-piece tender, mashed potatoes, unsweet tea. That's the setup. That's it.
See, this is what we call life goals, fellas. This is life goals right here. But here's the thing, Chad. She got the flowers beforehand, right?
That's correct. Because she gets up super early too. What I decided to do is I gave her the flowers Wednesday, or what would it be? Tuesday night, like before she went to bed. I gave her the flowers, did that whole presentation then, and she's like, well, why didn't you wait? And I said, because you get up in the morning so early, I want you to see the flowers on the way out the door.
Yes.
Right? Like you're up super early. Yes. I want you to see those flowers before you walk out the door. And so I thought that would be a little, because otherwise she would have had to wait till, late last night when she gets home, because she gets home after 7 o'clock. So I wanted to make sure it was there super early in the morning for her when she's walking out. So, just trying to cover those details. That's another key to Valentine's Day. Just cover some details. Do a little bit of work.
Just a little bit of work.
Yeah.
A little bit. It goes a long way. But she didn't have to sit there all day long wondering, is he going to do something? Is he not going to do something? Like she was already set. So by the time she was so happy, she's like, that man doesn't have to do anything else. Just give me some Golden Chick and come on home, baby.
That's it. Because she leaves every day with me in the bed. So had she left with me giving her nothing yet, then she might have been like, I hope he, like you said, I hope he remembered. But instead, yesterday she got up, walked around that bed, looked over at me, and probably thought, that romantic bastard got me 24 roses. I love him so much, and then walked out. That's what I hope she did.
Well, we know what she didn't say. What she didn't say is he didn't do nothing. All right,
That's
so
right.
that part is good, fellas. Again, you guys, there's two ends of the spectrum that you take advice from. Take advice from the person who knows how to make it work. You take advice from the guy who has messed it up. And if you combine the two, I promise you're getting the most solid advice that you can get, ladies, too, as well. Okay, so here's the other thing. As I joked yesterday, Chad, I want to know if there's a music review because guys were saying, well, what are we going to get out of it? And I joked, and I used a 3 6 Mafia reference of the slob on my knob song. And there's people who actually had never heard the song before. I said, like Chris Bennett. So I sent you the link. Yes. The question is, all right, after you listen to the song, and I don't know if you had your wife as a part of this thing or not, I need the Chad Hastings music review.
So I appreciate I'm a heavy metal guy, and I do like a lot of rap as well. I really appreciate extreme songs. I'm a big fan because I believe you've got to know how far is too far so you know where your spot is. So you can pull back to your spot, have your boundaries. And I mentioned my wife does like some pretty dirty rap songs. Yes. But Anwar, I have not yet played this song for her. I listened to about half to 3/4 of it, and I just thought, okay, I know who I'm married to, and I think that's a bridge too far. I think it's a bridge too far. That is one of the most just obvious, in-your-face, graphic songs I've ever heard in my life. If it made me uncomfortable to listen to, it's probably going to make her uncomfortable.
Wait. Okay, hold on.
That was not a part of my Valentine's Day. I'll put it that way.
Wait a second, though. Did your wife listen to 2 Live Crew at one point, though?
Nah, she was never really 2 Live Crew. I think the boundary line for her, she's into Digital Underground, Freaks of the Industry. There was a song back in the day. She was about the dancing part of it. She and friends used to go out dancing. So it was the Chris Rock bit about you're out there dancing to a really nasty song, but you're a sweet, nice woman, you know? So like there was a song back in the day called, what was it? Short D Man. Don't want no short.
Don't want no. Yes.
Remember that? Yeah.
Yes.
She loves that song, but she loved it to dance to. So I still have not. What I need to do is play a little bit of the song for her and say, okay, honey, just imagine you're back in the day. You're out in East Texas on the dance floor. What would you have done if this song comes on? I haven't tried it yet, though. I wanted to have a good Valentine's Day, but I'll keep you updated on that.
Yeah. I think you're smart. To wait on that one like that. There's no urgency on that one. I think you're safe with just going with normal Drake, right? Just normal Drake songs, and maybe some of the I don't know, is she a Cardi B person? Like, because Cardi goes a little bit far as well.
Cardi can get into it a little bit. Like another one she likes is back a little while, Eminem had a song called "Shake That Ass."
Oh yeah,
or maybe it's just called "Shake That."
Yeah, Shake That. Yeah,
and I can't remember. There's another rapper on there with him. She digs that song. The beat's great. It's a really thick kind of sound to it. She really digs that. But I think this one will be a little bit further than she's comfortable with. But we'll see. Between now and March 14th, I'll let you know.
All right, March 14th. Now, March 14th is a little bit of a tougher task, fellas. I thought this one is an easier one for you. March 14th. How do you convey that one on our day? Very tough. But for those who can pull it off, props to you. But I would just say, fellas, lower your standards for that one, because usually that one isn't really received as well. Steak in that day. All right. Thank you, Chad. Let me go over here to the QR codes. I hope that regardless, everyone's having a good day. And if you are looking for a home in the DFW area, looking for a good day as well, Go and check out my main man, Eric Sells Homes, DFW. My main man, Eric Torres. There's a QR code right there. El Presidente himself. He's got you covered. If you're looking for a home, looking to buy a home, looking to sell a home, whatever it is, my man has got you covered. Check out my main man, El Presidente. He's a guy. He's a Longhorn fan. He's true to the show. Good friend of mine. El Presidente, Eric Sells Homes, DFW. Make sure you check it out. Eric Sells Homes, DFW. Let me make sure I get this thing. Wait a second. I hit the wrong button. I need to do my thing. By the way, South End Zone Queen, you were today's years old when you learned about March 14th. Yes, that is a day. That is a thing. There is a thing. But that is the men's Valentine's Day version, March 14th. That one's a little bit. That one's this is a morning show. All I can tell you, it's a steak and a something or other day. You're smart enough to do a Google search and figure it all out for yourself if you do not know about that. But that is a day, March 14th. That is specifically. I guess it doesn't really have to be for the fellas, right? You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be because I don't want to go down that road. So it is also another. Well, let's just call it another day of celebration because it could be for the ladies as well. Hey, don't discriminate. Okay, one last thing. As I told the line between really seeing how far we can push this thing before I get kicked off my channel. Specs, weekend's coming up. Trying to think about what you're gonna do. Listen, you got to go out to Specs. It's for the best prices on beer, wines, your spirits. You know your vodkas, your bourbons, your tequilas. Whatever it is, your rums that you're into. All that, your wines. They got people down there who will help you pick out the best wines that you're looking for, really the best drinks that you're looking for. They're experts. It's really a dream job. Could you imagine? That'd be a job for me. The only way I leave Orange Bloods if I could be like a tester. If I could be like a tester for like bourbon or vodka or something like that, like Eddie V's or Tito's or something like that. That I'm out. I'm out. Catch them out. Tito's calls me and they say, hey man, we need an official tester. I'm out. I'll see you guys later. But nonetheless, go down to Specs. They open at 10 o'clock. Go check them out. See what Specs has in store for you. Check this a little bit, 15 seconds.
No matter what you're needing, Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
Cheers to you. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. Here's the exercise that I'm going to attempt to do today. And I decided, Jason and I were having a conversation yesterday, and it really kind of prompted a thought in my head that I was like, I really want to expand on this thing because I really wanted to get into the coaches who are facing the most pressure in the 2024 season, the assistant coaches on Steve Sarkisian's staff that are facing the most pressure in the 2024 season. Now, I want to make sure I differentiate something. When I say pressure, I don't necessarily equate that to being hot seat. So for the purpose of the conversation, I am not saying that these are the guys that I feel like when I rank them, these are the guys who are most likely, I think, on a hot seat, potentially get fired. I'm not going to say that. I think for the most part, when we start going down the list, you're going to look, Steve Sarkisian really hasn't fired anybody since he's been here. Now, look, you guys know, you've seen two coaches that I know that I specifically covered. Charlie Strong, at the end of the day, the only people who were left standing after the Charlie Strong era was Vance Bedford, and Brian G. Marie. I had to think of my man's name. Brian G. Marie. Those are only guys from his original staff that were left standing at the end of the day. And only Brian G. Marie was in his original position. That was it. So we saw the changes. Tom Herman, I think it was after year 3, fired like 7 people. It's like everybody gotta go. Everybody gotta go, right? So after year 3, he was like an overhaul, and everybody had to go. We've done 3 seasons of Sarkisian, and we haven't seen anybody get fired. We've seen coaches leave. We haven't seen Sark pull the trigger on that. We don't know what that looks like when Sark tells a guy, "You're not good enough, you're fired." So that's the purpose of it. So we start that conversation from a base level. I'm not saying, hey, these guys are going to potentially get fired. Until Sark fires somebody, I'm going to assume he's not. Then hopefully, if all goes well, we never get to that point where we even have to get there, right? So hopefully that works out. So, but these are guys that I just started to thinking about from a ranking standpoint as Jason and I were having the conversation, because the conversation is really about pressure, and how much pressure is Kenny Baker on under this season. And we kind of started, going like a back and forth and trying to decide those kind of where he was from a pressure standpoint. I think Jason and I were a little bit different on that. So I decided, okay, let's have that conversation. Let's have the conversation as to where these guys are from a pressure ranking standpoint. So what you're going to see is my pressure rankings from the 2024 season. And by the way, feel free to obviously interject and then give me your opinions as well. And I know it's tough when you do rankings because everybody, I don't like to do rankings. I'll be quite honest with you, because it just always leaves you open to having somebody come back and just, throw things in your face. But nonetheless, I'm down for it today. It's the day after Valentine's Day. It's a day of love. So why not? So without further ado, with everything being said, and I know people are going to join 10 minutes from now, and they're going to join the thing and be like, you think this guy's going to get fired? Like, hopefully you can help them out if I'm in mid-thought. Let's go to number 10. We're going to work our way from 10 and work our way down to number 1. From a pressure ranking standpoint, the guy I think has the least pressure on him going into the season is Jeff Banks. He's number 10 for me. Jeff Banks is about as safe can be. If the war broke out right now and Steve Sarkisian had a safe room, and he was like, I can only bring a couple of people with me, and then until everything happens, it's Armageddon, everything, whatever ended in there, whatever scenario is going to require Will Smith to save us, right? Whatever that is, right? Where we need Will Smith to save us, Jeff Banks will be down there in that secret bunker with Steve Sarkisian. That's his guy. That's his guy. And look, it's not just to say Jeff is safe because they're close friends. But Jeff's done a really good job on special teams. I would be disingenuous if I said like he hasn't done a good job with special teams. You've seen. I think I've been really impressed from a return standpoint. You just never really see Texas getting killed in a kickoff return game from an opponent standpoint, or a punt return game. Really, really good as far as figuring out the coverage units and how to make that thing work. They do a lot of work during practice on special teams. Keelan Robinson is a guy that's got invited to the combine largely based off of what he's been able to do off a special team standpoint, which is pretty damn impressive when you really think about, like, you have a guy who's going there specifically because of special teams, with awful guys, Jordan Winnington as well. And so, and you see, and I don't know, you've seen him. I don't know. I mean, we know what he played in college. So we know what he's been able to do from a special teams perspective when he was in college. And so being able to see the success as punters are having, kickers are having, you feel pretty good about special teams. You don't have to hold your breath when it comes to special teams. Now, you may question why Keelan Robinson has a broken hand and is back there returning kicks. That might be the only time you ever said, I don't really know about this one. I feel like there could be better options here. I feel like there may be a guy who doesn't have a broken hand who might be a better option. Outside of that, weirdness. Everything else Jeff Banks has done has been money. And the other thing that makes Jeff Banks so good is that he's a hell of a recruiter. He's lived up to all his expectations as a recruiter. So Jeff Banks, for me, he's my number 10 of the pressure that's out there. All he has to do is maintain the things that he's already done. So Jeff Banks sits back, chills, smokes a cigar, can relax at the number 10 position for me. Number 9, as we move down the list of pressure rankings, Kyle Flood is probably not under a lot of pressure this season, but I've talked about this before. When Texas is going into the transfer portal, we know what they're looking for typically, right? Looking for receivers, right? Looking for some DBs, like they got a tight end, looking for guys on the defensive line. But quarterback. Quentin Ewers is a quarterback and came here as a quarterback as a transfer, right? So we've seen Texas go after it from different positions. You know what we really haven't seen though? Offensive line. We have not seen them do that, and so that's a testament to what Kyle Flood does. That's a testament to what he's been able to do from a recruiting standpoint and a development standpoint, where they've gone into the portal and said, man, we need a lot of different things. But you know what we don't need? We don't need none of these offensive linemen that are out there. They are not better than any of the guys that we have on campus. We are absolutely good. So Kyle Flood, all Kyle Flood really has to do is continue with the progression and the coaching up of the guys that it did. By the way, for y'all who have followed this team for a long time, doesn't it feel good for you not to have any offensive line worries? Think about this. I mean, think about where you were a few years ago when you were just ecstatic that Connor Williams got drafted. You're like, oh my God, how many years has that been? And then Sam Cosby got drafted a couple of years later. You're like, man, this is good. Man, we've had 2 guys in the last 4 years. Like, wow. And now we know Christian Jones is going to get this thing started, and then after that, it's going to be nonstop. Your Kelvin Banks of the world, your DJ Campbells of the world, your Cam Williams of the world. Like, we know this thing it's about to get started. Like, the floodgates are about to open as far as offensive linemen going into the NFL. That's Kyle Flood. That's Kyle Flood right there. So from a pressure ranking standpoint, as far as how much pressure he faces, look, he's built an offensive line to compete in the SEC. That's what he's done. He's already got that thing taken care of, right? So Kyle Flood basically has done the damn thing. And to your point, Benji, he's got some guys behind him. Now, you got a guy like a Trevor Gooseby behind him. And I know that you mentioned Chapman and Baker, but you got a guy like a Gooseby behind him. And you say to yourself, like, that guy could probably start at a lot of other programs, and he's just going to sit here and cook and bake. So he'll sit behind Kelvin Banks. But think about this. Think about that. Think about the luxury of a guy like Gooseby, right? Just because you brought him up. Think about him being able to sit behind Kelvin Banks for one more year, and then what that's going to look like a year from now. What? It's just great. So from a pressure ranking standpoint, it's really Kyle Flood. He's at number 9. Done a fantastic job since he's been here. Real lot of respect for him and the job that he's done. Number 8 for me is a real simple one. AJ Milwee, quarterback coach. He's number 8 from as far as the pressure rankings is concerned. He already works with Quinn. He's on the sidelines. Since last year, Sarkisian moved him from the booth to be on the sidelines, to be a guy that can communicate with Quinn. They have a good relationship as it is. All they have to do is continue building on the things they've already established. And the biggest thing that AJ Milwee has to do this offseason, honestly, the biggest thing he has to do, and I'm not saying it's impossible or anything to that effect, but his biggest task, and what I'm saying, he has other tasks, but so I don't want to make it seem like he only has like one job. Like, I don't want to be like disrespectful in that regard. But one of his biggest things that he has to do, that sounds better, he's just got to get Arch ready. He's got to get Arch ready just in case that the starting quarterback has to miss any time, just in case. And look, Quinn has had to miss time, over the last couple of years of him being a starting quarterback, whether it was his last year in high school, his first 2 seasons here at Texas. He's missed time. You don't want him to miss any time this year. So we're knocking on wood that he stays healthy for all the amount of games that it takes for Texas to go ahead and win a national championship, right? But that being said, he's got to make sure that if some reason Quinn has to come out for a quarter, a half, whatever, just make sure Arch is ready to go. And if Arch is ready to go, that's definitely the mission accomplished for him. But AJ Milwee, and I'll be honest with you, I wasn't quite sure what to make of Milwee before he was hired. Because I was like, well, it doesn't really matter who the quarterback coach is. It's still Sark. That was my mentality. But I've learned that he has really good relationship with the quarterbacks. I've learned that he does a really good job coaching them, not only in the film room, but also on the field now, especially being on the sidelines. A lot of respect. You don't get an Arch Manning to come here because he thinks the guy that he's going to work with a little bit is trash, right? So he came here because not of course of Sarkisian, but there's still another person he has to work with, and so Milwee gets a lot of props for me. A lot more than I may have given him before, but I give him the props that he deserves for the job that he's been able to do. So for me, that's number 8 for me is Milwee. And by the way, again, I know it's a combo thing, but from a recruiting standpoint, there isn't somebody that said, "Wait, so I have to work with that guy?" You haven't seen that from a recruiting standpoint, right? You haven't seen KJ Lacey say, "Man, I mean, Sark, you're cool and stuff, but who's that other dude? I gotta work with that dude?" Like, I don't know. You haven't seen that. So because of that, I think all due respect goes out to AJ Milwee. He would be number 8 on my list. Number 7, Tashard Choice, running backs coach, as far as pressure rankings are concerned. Look, Big 12 recruiter of the year. He's proven himself. He's come in and shown that he's not just Stan Drayton's replacement, but he stands on his own as Tashard Choice, as a guy that clearly gets guys into the NFL. Clearly he knows what he's doing. Like we don't even have to go that route, right? We know when you are good enough that your backup running back is getting drafted, say less. When a guy like Roschon Johnson is getting drafted over guys who were starters, that says a lot about what Tashard Choice is able to do. For a guy like Jonathan Brooks, look. At the end of the day, I don't care what anybody says, and I'm going to stand on this. Jonathan Brooks in the end of last season as the starting running back. Let us never forget. Let's never forget that at the end of the day, there was somebody else in front of Jonathan Brooks. But at CJ Baxter. At the end of the day, when Jonathan Brooks got his chance, he took over. But that's coaching. That's what Tashard Choice is able to do. So, and now I'm at the point where I look at the upcoming season, and I'm just, okay, whoever you throw in is going to be good. Now, you know, I like some Jaden Blue. Woo, that, as I said to Coming to America, that boy good. I love Jaden Blue. I really like CJ Baxter. And that's just me. I'm gonna stand on that. I will be a Jaden Blue fan club member, but I'm not the only one. Nonetheless, whoever's out there, I feel good about their productivity, how good they're going to do, and I feel good about that room going. Even when they lose to Brooks, you didn't feel like, oh my God, Texas doesn't have a running back. You're like, oh, Texas has got some guys that are filling it. So for me, number 7 is Tashard Choice. Let's move on to my 6th one. Number 6 for me is PK. I like me some PK. It looks to be like a candy bar or something, right? But Kwiatkowski, when I think of pressure rankings are concerned, we've seen that defense get better. We know what that looked like. It was the number one third down defense in the country for the overwhelming majority of the season. We've seen guys grow and progress under Pete. We've seen players want to play for Pete K and be in the system. Elite players, not only from the high school level, but from a transfer portal level as well. The Makubas of the world, the Treys of the world, like you've been able to see what they've been able to do. And of course, Colin Simmons. So they're not, you can say NIL, all that kind of stuff. That's short money. These guys are also thinking long money. And long money is, I need the best of both worlds. Because the short money is fine, but I need to be in the NFL in another 4 or 5 years. And PK is that guy. PK is that guy that has silenced all his critics. And I've been a PK dude. You know, I stood on the table for PK for years. You guys know when that whole Gary Patterson thing was happening, and they brought Gary Patterson in as an analyst, I was like, get thee behind me, Satan. This is PK. This is what PK is going to do. When people started giving Gary a lot of credit for things that happened, I was like, this is some BS. This is PK that's out there calling these plays. That's what he does. And then when there was no Gary, look how good this defense was last year. You got to give the man his props. He went there. They came up and schemed up a defense that limited Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Say nothing more. Say nothing more for me as relates to Pete Kwiatkowski. So I think he's done a fantastic job. I think he's looking like a guy that can be here as long as he wants to be here. I don't see him in any kind of jeopardy. As the defense continues to play well, PK should continue to get the props that he deserves. So PK is number 6 on my list. And then I'll get into the number 5 one. And now I'll ask Chad what he thinks of my list so far. Number 5, from a pressure ranking standpoint, would be Chris Jackson. And you put him in the top 5, but the top 5 is more so just finding out, okay, who are the guys that you're going to play? Like that, there's the pressure I think Chris Jackson faces is blending the transfers with the incumbents. Like that's the pressure, okay, is how do I make this whole thing work? How do I make it work where you got young guys who are ready to get on the field, who want to play, but I also got these older guys who are transferred in and they're ready to play. So how do I blend the two? How do I make everybody happy? That's where the pressure ranking comes in from him. Recruiting still, of course, but he's done a good job as far as recruiting is concerned. But how do you blend the new with the old? And then I don't mean they're not that old. They've only been on campus for a couple of years. But how do you blend? Hey, I want to get some chance of playing time, and how do you make it all work? And how do you get everybody to buy into the vision? That's the pressure thing for me. So number 10 was Jeff Banks. Number 9 was Kyle Flood. Number 8 was AJ Milwee. Number 7 was Tashard Choice. I guess I could have put them all up here for you. I'll just go through it real quick for you. 10 was Banks. 9 was Flood for me. Just doing a quick review. 8 was Milwee. 7 was Tashard Choice. 6 was Pete K. And 5 was Chris Jackson. Chad, so far, you got any problems with my rankings? Anything that you would rank a little bit differently? And is there a guy that maybe I have lower that you think maybe should have been higher?
Overall, and also kind of knowing, I'm sure what the fans are doing, knowing sort of who's on the way. What I might have done, I like the list overall. If you're a Texas fan, the feeling of like when you say pressure rankings, this feels like a low simmer more than anything else for a lot of these guys. Like there's really not, like you said, not real heat. Just maybe there's pressure in different ways. I might have made Kwiatkowski how do I say this? I might have made Kwiatkowski the highest pressured guy, the highest pressure guy among the main group. Again, because I know where you're headed here.
Yeah.
So I don't want to reveal too much, but I might have made him that guy, because where you're about to go, I think, is where fans would want you to go. So in terms of the guys that have been here, obviously it is DC. That is the opposite side of the ball from Sark. And I wouldn't, again, like you said, not serious heat, but there's still that discussion, I think, about, is Pete Kwiatkowski the DC that can put a defense out there that is badass in the SEC, that can maybe fight to get to Atlanta, and that maybe can get to a next level? We're talking about a team who's probably going to be top 5 preseason when it happens. Is he good enough to have a team be that level? That, I think, is what a lot of Texas fans are wondering. So that might be the only thing I would do. Maybe, maybe I might have kicked Tashard Choice down a notch in terms of pressure, maybe kick Kwiatkowski up a notch. That may be about all I would do from what you've done so far.
All right. Well, the good part of what I've done so far is that you're not looking at it and saying to yourself, "Well, that's horrible," right? So I can live with that.
Oh yeah, no, it's just little 1 or 2 spot changes. There's nothing too crazy yet. I think overall fans are going to agree once you get to the end of it, the way you laid it out.
Yeah, see, Chad has the privilege of seeing seeing the list right now in front of him. So we're gonna go for this. All right, so we'll go to number 4, and I'll put him in here in the pressure that Johnny Nansen faces. It's more so just operating with what he has and getting those guys up to speed like that. It's not the pressure that this guy ain't that good or anything to that effect, but it's just more so of, hey, when you're losing a couple of guys, but you also have some guys that are supposed to be the next man up. Like, who is the next man up amongst the inside linebackers, and finding out that solution and making sure there is no drop off as Texas gets ready to go into the SEC. And so there are a lot of young guys who are on this roster. We forget this just a couple of years ago, there were 4 linebackers that were in a class. And so it's time to see what those guys have and where you could slot those guys in their different positions. And so that's the pressure that I think he's under. And again, it's just because I have to rank it. I wouldn't necessarily say that I feel like Johnny is a person that I'm like, oh my gosh, if he doesn't get it done in year 1, it's a wrap. Like, no, it's not be crazy. Like nothing to that effect. But nonetheless, from a pressure ranking standpoint of things that need to be accomplished, especially here in year 1, he would be the 4th guy on my list. Number 3, let's have some honest conversations here now. Kenny Baker is number 3 for me. So now you guys know, you guys can figure out number 2 and 1. You just have to get what the orders are. Kenny Baker for me is under a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure. Because he comes into a situation where, they got one guy out of the transfer portal, but you have guys who have had a slight impact previously, and we felt their presence here and there, but we haven't really felt them consistently through 4 quarters, just seen them in spurts. And so now it's up to Kenny Baker to get the most out of the Broughtons of the world and get most out of Alfred Collins in the world, right? To get Sorrell up to another level, to get Ethan Burke up to another level. Like that's where the pressure comes, where if your trademark is you can teach the game better than most people can teach the game, and you are supposed to be a person that can help develop talent. Well, that's what you'll be judged on more so than the recruiting aspect in year 1. But by the way, there is some pressure from recruiting, because it's like, hey, man, never really seen you recruit at this level. You might be able to do it. Just because you haven't done it doesn't mean you can't do it. So there's no disrespect there. But we haven't seen you do it. We don't know you can do it. Can you go land the big fish? Can you land the big dogs? Can you be that person that people say, I want to play for that guy? There's a pressure there. There's a pressure there. And again, by this time next year, Kenny Baker maybe up at number 8, something totally different. But for now, when you start talking about, hey, you need to replace T'Vondre Sweat, the productivity that you got out of T'Vondre Sweat and Byron Murphy, and find something that's close to that, pressure bust the pipe. All right. But nonetheless, and you're correct, Ben, by the way, Benji, when you say Kenny has a free year, 100%, I'm with you on that, Benji. Totally with you as far as a free year. And that's why I say it doesn't matter. I'm not saying hot seat. I'm just talking pressure to get things done in the SEC. Like, we got to see that right away. We've got to see that right away. All right, let's get into the last two. When I talk about my pressure rankings of the coaches who are currently on Steve Sarkisian's staff, number 2, Terry Joseph, quarterbacks coach. And look, listen, you guys can debate who would be number 1 or who would be number 2, but when we start, the good is, look, he's got Jahdae Barron coming back. He's got a Terrence Brooks coming back. He's got Malik Muhammad that's there. He's got a Kobe Black to work with. So he's got talent. And we've seen Malik Muhammad do what he's, have a good season last year. We saw some flashes of Kobe Black last year as well. We know what Jahdae Barron can do as well. But there were also times that the secondary, did struggle. And we can't deny that. At the end of the day, in the Big 12, Texas finished with the 12th ranked passing defense in the conference. And that's not all on Terry Joseph. That's not all on him. So I'm not putting that all on him, right? They also finished in the nation, as far as passing defense is concerned. They were ranked 116th in the country out of 133 teams in the ranking. Let me repeat that again. The Texas Longhorn passing defense was ranked 116th in the country out of 133 teams. And you saw the game against Washington. You guys were there, South End Zone Queen. I know you were there. And we saw a Penix pick apart the secondary like they didn't exist. It literally was flag football, right? So this is where, when I say pressure, the pressure has to come where, hey, you got to get these guys better. You got to get these guys better. And by the way, just so we're clear, in the conference, and by the way, they were 12 out of 14. So in the conference. And the previous year, in 2022, they actually had the 4th ranked pass defense. And the previous year before that, they were 5th. So they took a huge step back. And so it's about time. And look, there's some guys that, okay, I'm not going to throw strays. It's about finding the right guys to be out there on the field. And so again, Gavin Holmes and Jahdae Barrons and Gilbos, Terrence Brooks, Malik Muhammad, you've got some talent to work with. You got the Kobe Blacks of the world. But now, how do you mix that? I feel like I put Terry Joseph from a pressure ranking standpoint at number 1. At number 2, which, look, you guys can debate 1 versus 2. Some of you might have Terry Joseph as number 1. Some of you guys may have Gideon at number 2. Whatever it is, however it is, I ain't married to it. But I'll put Gideon at number 1 for that safety position. Look, Derek Williams came in, but Derek Williams, we know what Derek Williams was coming out of high school. They do get a guy like Makuba, so that's going to help as well. You do have someone there in Michael Taft, but there were breakdowns in the secondary, and sometimes when that happens, it's up to the safeties to make sure they're communicating the right things. And we saw way too many breakdowns, I think, last season. And so there's pressure. Again, not hot seat, but pressure to make sure that that unit, that secondary unit, plays a much better brand of football. Again, with what is at stake with the SEC and there. And again, this goes on both of them as far as where that pass defense was concerned. Again, 116th in the country out of 133. And here's the thing. We know the defensive line was good. So you can't say, sometimes, how things work, symmetry, right? You sometimes say, well, the defensive line wasn't good because the defensive line doesn't get pressure. Then all of a sudden that's going to put more of a strain on the DBs. Well, T'Vondre Sweat, Byron Murphy. Byron Murphy's a first-round pick. T'Vondre Sweat is probably day 2 guy. You had guys, so you can't say it was on the defensive line. We know the defensive line was pretty darn good, but we know that the secondary made a little bit too many errors, and we saw games against Houston. Obviously, we saw Washington. We saw the breakdowns that have occurred. So those guys, that unit has to get better. So let me review it here. We'll go through mine. Give me yours if you can. I put myself out there. We'll go ahead and put you out there. We'll see. I'm sure I'll get some text messages later today. It's okay. Jeff Banks, he finishes at number 10 for me. Pressure rankings. Number 9 was Kyle Flood. Number 8 was AJ Milwee. Number 7 rather, Tashard Choice. 6 was Pete K. 5 was Chris Jackson. Number 4 was Johnny Nason. Number 3 was Kenny Baker. Number 2, Terry Joseph. And number 1, I put Blake Gideon. And again, I think number 1 or number 2 are potentially interchangeable. Okay, now, Chad, now that you've seen my entire list, I'm curious your feedback on that, and who would you move around? And actually, give me your feedback, and I'd like to know who you would have as number 1 on your list.
I think you probably went with the right one at 1, because I think there have been issues in the middle of the field at times, and it's about them getting beat over the top sometimes. This conference that they're about to go into, Anwar, used to be known for bloody rock fights. It used to be known for some ugly football at times. But now when you think about how teams attack, think about how Alabama does business. Think about how I went in the wrong order. My bad, Kirby. Think about how Georgia does business.
Yeah.
Then think about how Alabama does business. Mm-hmm. Think about, we'll see about, let's go to the rivals. We know Oklahoma wants to throw the ball. A&M. Wigman's a good quarterback. What will it look like with Colin Klein putting an offense in? But you got to give Klein the respect of, at times, K-State would throw. It's not like K-State didn't throw the ball when he was coordinating the offense. We'll see what that looks like. Think about how Ohio State does business. Think about how Michigan. Now, Michigan's a little more, maybe a little more towards that traditional, but they'll still throw a little bit. You have got to be able to cover people in college football. And I think that is the difference between that. I mean, you just laid it out. That's why Texas wasn't in the title game.
Yeah.
I dig their matchup if they'd have faced Michigan. I think Texas would have beaten Michigan and won the Natty. But that means they would have had to cover the Washington guys, and they didn't do it well enough. So that is critical stuff. Those are the blinking lights right now. I think both those guys deep down, they know it. They know they've got to be a little bit better. So I think you went the right way, and I'd have probably done the same thing. I'd have probably ended with the most pressure on that safety position. They need to be more impactful at the safety position. Just like, Nansen knows it coming in. They need to at times be more impactful linebacker-wise, but they really need to be there in safety. So I think you ended up with the right guy at 1.
All right. Thank you, Chad. Listen, you guys feel free in the chat. If you're watching this video on replay, give me your list. Give me the guys who you think are under the most pressure this season. Doesn't necessarily have to be hot seat, but we're talking about the pressure to get the job done in year 1 of the SEC. That's the thing we need to see. That's the thing we need to know. Who's under the most pressure? Give me your 10 to 1. I put my list out there. You go ahead and put your list out there. Again, put that in the chat if you can. And again, if it's on replay, just go ahead and put it down in the comments section below, and we'll make sure we check that out later today. Speaking of later today, time for me to get out of here. Chad will be here, House Divided at noon, so you guys don't need to go anywhere. Alex Dunlap is recovering from his snip, snap, the Office reference. I hope you got it. But as he's recovering, you'll see Alex here next week. But for my main man, Chad, and of course, Jeff Ketchum, for everybody at Orange Bloods, who apparently not enough people got some last night because they were sure active on our Slack messages. But to my main man, Chad Hastings, who I didn't know existed until 10 minutes before the show. Salute to you, Chad. You are the man. Woo! You know what I always say, live each day like it was your last, because one day it will be. Chad Hastings, he made sure he did that last night.